Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Greetings to all listeners of True Buddhism. Today's Dharma talk is excerpted from the book Way Back to the Buddhist Place by the Venerable Elder Thich Thong with the following topic: To go beyond the world of troubles is not an ordinary task. The Sutta of the 12 Conditions of Cause and Effect taught, if the causing condition of life exists, the causing condition of sorrow, grief, distress, sickness, and death occurs. If the causing condition of life does not exist, the causing condition of sorrow, grief, distress, sickness, and death does not occur. Once knowing this, those who follow Buddhist practice need to cease the causing condition of life, and so the causing condition of sorrow, grief, distress, sickness, and death will cease. When the causing condition of sorrow, grief, distress, sickness, and death ceases, it is the liberation, the Nibbana. So we clearly understand that in order to finish sorrow, grief, distress, and life, death, rebirth, there is no other way but the cessation of the causing condition of life. The only way for liberation of Buddhism, starting with the practice to become a bhikkhu, is to cease the causing condition of life. If one cannot cease the causing condition of life, one cannot become a bhikkhu. Because of not understanding the liberation of Buddhism, people left home to enter monkhood in the manner of form, the robe, the shaved head of a monk. They studied the doctrine thoroughly to become preaching masters and be called bhikkhus, but in fact, these bhikkhus does not receive and taste the true liberation of Buddhism. They only receive and taste fame, wealth, or worldly sensual pleasures like so many other people. As mentioned above, if we cease the causing condition of life, the condition of sorrow, grief, distress, sickness, and death does not exist. The Sutta of the 12 Conditions of Cause and Effect taught, if one wishes to finish life, death, rebirth, sorrow, grief, distress, sickness, and death, one has to cease, get rid of, renounce, stay away, leave, and repudiate, and let go of the causing condition of life. Regarding this saying here, you the monks and the Buddhist followers should understand it as life. Life means to live, the life, the livelihood, things to rely on to live. It is not the meaning of giving birth and/or the birth. The scholars often relied on the texts of the Samyutta Nikaya or Agama to explain that saying meant birth or giving birth, and so they reasoned, to have birth means to have death. Such an explanation is not the right meaning of the Sutta of the 12 Conditions of Cause and Effect, as if so, the 12 conditions combined would only create one person, which is wrong. Though the Samyutta Nikaya or Agama are original canons, but we do not accept such explanation because such meaning is not the worldview of the 12 Conditions of Cause and Effect, therefore saying for the meaning of birth or giving birth is not right. The meaning of saying in the 12 Conditions of Cause and Effect is that it is only one causing condition which is combined with other causing conditions to create or bring into existence a world of sufferings. This is the worldview of Buddhism instead of human outlook of life as the scholars and the canons explain. This is an immense mistake of the scholars in the past and at present. As the Buddha wanted to help human beings finish sufferings and put an end to life, death, rebirth, he presented the philosophical theory of the 12 Conditions of Cause and Effect, in which one causing condition links other causing conditions tightly without a slit. Life and death continues with death and life as in accordance with the causality law, like the case where one pays the debts and continues borrowing for later payment. Therefore, in the suttas, the Buddha has repeatedly confirmed that these 12 conditions are combined to create the world of sufferings as up mentioned.
How to practice to break these 12 conditions of cause and effect? In the teachings of the original canons, the Buddha chose the causing condition of life as the first stage for a monk nun to carry out. It is the first phase that a bhikkhu has to accomplish, that is, to cease the causing condition of life. To become a bhikkhu of Buddhism, life must be renounced. Anyone who has not renounced the life cannot become a bhikkhu, that is, not a leaving home disciple of Buddhism. As explained above, Thong means to live, and Yi means to rely on to live. So Thong, Yi, means houses, properties, money, valuables, parents, siblings, spouses, children, paternal and maternal relatives, big pagodas, huge towers, many Buddhist followers. These are life. If one has not completed one's practice but leads others, the person is ignorant and stupid. He digs his own grave of fame and wealth and then die in sufferings, similar to a wealthy man. Such is life. A person leaving home to follow Buddhist practice has to renounce life. Only by renouncing life can the person live exactly in accordance with the standard conducts and virtues and attain results in practicing concentrations. If you practice but have not renounced life, still have love and hate, sit in the pagoda but think about parents, spouses and children, friends, relatives, properties, possessions, etc. with longing feelings and regrets, how can you attain the liberation in your path of practice? At present, everyone has two hands. One hand holds ordinary life, and the other holds ascetic life. Both hands hold things. You don't want to let go of the ordinary life and also want to have the ascetic life. In such a manner, how can you fully grasp the path of practice? For example, a person travels by boat with two legs on two different boats. How can the boats work? If you want to seek the liberation path to escape the sufferings of this life, you have to let go of the ordinary life and use that hand to grasp the ascetic path tightly together with the other hand. By that time, you will immediately experience the path of liberation. The Buddha taught, only by renouncing the life can the standard conducts and virtues be completed. This teaching is clear and concrete with the confirmation of renunciation brings liberation. If a person does not want to let go of ordinary life and still wants to follow Buddhism, he or she can only practice goodness and cannot have higher practice and cannot enter the concentration of anusrava and the Four Noble Concentrations. For people of today, due to wrong practice, lack of understanding of Buddhism, and even running after two hares, some lay followers following Buddhism do not gauge their capacity, do not understand the method, and thus spend days and nights reciting suttas, sitting in meditation, even diligently listening to monks lecturing suttas or Zen monks teaching meditation method. They make efforts for practice, but dare not leave their spouses and children, dare not renounce their properties. If they all the time think about making money, is there any liberation in their practice? When will they head to? They are even bestowed the seal of approval by the Zen masters as having beheld the Buddha nature, to become Buddha. What they have beheld are the words, speech, and being good at responding, rather than behold the nature. They are only good at arguing and reasoning out of ignorant imagination. Dear the monks and the lay followers who are sitting here and listening to our teachings, what do you think of this point?
Can you leave the ordinary life for ascetic life? Can you renounce the family sentiments? Can you renounce the properties and possessions? It is the path of renunciation of life. Can you do it? If we choose the ascetic life for liberation from the life of sufferings, then no matter how hard the ascetic life is, we shall not give up. We'd rather die in the ascetic path, on the practice mat than below the practice mat. Rather die in the liberation from cause and effect, rather than in the fetters of sentiments of family, parents, spouses, children, siblings, relatives, etc. We should not die of properties, possessions, or career, but should die for the ascetic life, for the cessation of rebirth and sufferings of human life. By having the determination and dauntlessness to follow the ascetic path for liberation, we can totally renounce, repudiate, stay away, and leave all things which are called worldly life. We accept the life beyond the worldly life, which is poor but not pathetic. We only choose one occupation, that is, begging for food, which is the lowliest occupation in the society.
But thanks to the practice and livelihood with this occupation, we are able to resolve the enormous evil ego. We can knock it down and crush it. People who follow Buddhism to practice no longer earn money, no longer plow the fields or grow vegetables to eat. We have one meal per day, beg for food when hungry without begging for money, beg for water when thirsty, or go to a spring for water. Accept the situation of having no medicine. We do not rail at fate, not give up the practice, beg for clothing when it is worn out. If we could not receive what we beg, we peacefully accept the situation to let go of all things of life, to escape the fetter of materials which brings sorrows to human beings from life after life. Coming to Buddhism to become the leaving home monks or nuns, one will live the life of material privation in all aspects, almost having nothing. If someone does not have determination, not truly see that human life is suffering, and suffering is real, the person would hardly accept the ascetic life. The ascetic life is a complete renunciation without a slightest thing of ordinary life in the mind. This will make the practice easy. You should not sit here but worry about life or think about one thing or another. The Buddhist followers are the seed for you, the monk, in the future to create the causing conditions for them to practice. But you should not encourage them to leave home right now or ask them to make offerings or donations, or to build pagodas or towers, or to carry out the 4 provisions for the monks or nuns, etc. Such things have caused them to become your fetter. Because of the offerings, building pagodas, and donation, etc., many monks have failed in their path of practice. You, the monks, have become the servants for the spiritual needs of the lay followers instead of being true practitioners. When you become the head of a pagoda, most of you are not bound by your family, but you are bound by the Buddhist followers. They offer you one thing to satisfy your need in doing Buddha work, and they will later ask another thing from you. Even though that other thing is not the teaching method of the Buddha, you, the monks, still have to satisfy them. The monks or nuns have left the worldly life, but are controlled in the spiritual life. We left the life for the purpose of seeking liberation, but if we are not vigilant, we will be led astray by life and thus deviate from the ascetic life. To go beyond the worldly life is a difficult task. However, to go beyond the life which is not right in Buddhism is even more difficult. Because the deviation and incorrectness in Buddhism have deeply embedded in people's mind, they have become the deep practice, custom, and tradition among the broad masses of the people, borrowing the name of Buddhism.
In our time, we now have the standard practicing methods of Buddhism, which are specific, clear, and genuine. However, people slight them and see them as worthless. Therefore, to escape the worldly sufferings and go beyond the wrong meditation of heresy, we have to follow the example of the Buddha to let go of everything. We should only practice the methods that he carried out to attain the liberation from life, aging, sickness, and death without delay or laziness to become fully liberated ones. To go beyond the world of troubles is an extremely difficult task, but after having done that, if we do not practice the right method of Buddhism, it is a huge waste of human life. They have gone beyond the world of troubles, but do not listen to those with experiences. They keep following their own opinions and understanding. They think their understanding is right without knowing that it is even a bigger mistake. Such practice is just blind practice. The majority of such practitioners are influenced by the heresy. To renounce the life means to live correctly in accordance with the standard conducts and virtues. To live correctly in accordance with the standard conducts and virtues means to seriously observe and practice the precepts. To seriously observe and practice the precepts means the wisdom, as in the Digha Sutta the Buddha taught, where the precepts exist, there definitely exists the wisdom. Where the wisdom exists, there definitely exist the precepts. Therefore, to seize the causing condition of life means wisdom. Wisdom means enlightenment. Where there is enlightenment, there is no ignorance. Here we see very clearly, due to the ignorance, the action occurs. Due to the action, the consciousness occurs. These create the world of sufferings of human beings. If there is the enlightenment, the ignorance would not occur. Without ignorance, the action would not occur. Without the action, the consciousness would not occur. Without the consciousness, there would not be the world of sufferings of human beings. However, the enlightenment here is the life of standard conducts and virtues and precepts, as confirmed by the Buddha. Enlightenment is not from the thorough studying of the Sutta Pitaka. In order to totally break these 12 conditions of cause and effect, we must have enlightenment. If we want to have enlightenment, we have to seize the causing condition of life. In order to seize the causing condition of life, we have to live correctly in accordance with the standard conducts and virtues. In order to live correctly in accordance with the standard conducts and virtues, we have to strictly observe and practice the precepts. To strictly observe and practice the precepts means the enlightenment. Enlightenment here is not the wisdom of the 3 insights. Enlightenment here is the knowledge of liberation and the precepts. Where the knowledge of liberation exists, the precepts are there. Where the precepts exist, the knowledge of liberation is there. The precepts purify the knowledge of liberation. The knowledge of liberation purifies the precepts. In Buddhist practice, a millimeter of wrong understanding will lead to 1,000 miles of wrong practice. Nowadays, Buddhist monks, nuns, practice wrong method and thus could not find liberation. As a result, they always live in the worldly sensual pleasures. They are very rich with huge pagodas and big Buddha statues, and their life is more materially abundant than ordinary people. Every day they eat and sleep without regulation. They leisurely listen to singing and also sing. Moreover, the monks also keep money. This is the causing condition of life that they have not ceased. When they have not ceased the causing condition of life, their appearance with shaved head and monk robe is a defamation of Buddhism. They left home to enter monkhood, but have not left the causing condition of life. As such, the monks have unintentionally destroyed Buddhism, but they never know. Thank you for joining this journey today. Hope you all live without creating sufferings to yourselves, to others, and to all living beings. Regular mindfulness reminder: the mind is peaceful, blissful, and carefree. See you again in the next episode.